Hello, everyone. My name is Father Carl Chudy from the Our Lady of Fatima Shrine, interfaith collaborative outreach person here for that, along with my ecumenical friends in town here at Holliston, wishing you well on this week prior to the start of school and the fall season, which is coming upon us little by little. I wanted to share with you, particularly from an interfaith perspective as well as a Christian perspective, the importance of this time, and I'm saying particularly for our Jewish brothers and sisters, our neighbors here in town at at the synagogue here at Temple Beth Torah, and with our two rabbis in town, which are Rabbi Mimi Michner at the synagogue here in town, and Rabbi Jennifer of Simcha Services, which is another Jewish community without bricks and mortar, but very vital and doing wonderful things. As many of us may know, that this is a very important time for them as we approach the high holy days of our Jewish neighbors, and important time for prayer, for renewal, for restoration of justice in the community, and so many other things. There's a lot wrapped up in it. And I encourage all Christians or anybody, if it's possible, if you have a moment, to join in on the High Holy Day services, which are online as well as in person. And you can check on our website, hollistoninterfaith.org, for information about that, or the newsletter, which many should have gotten with the schedule, or just call up, the synagogue and get the schedule from them. There's a special sign-in page for guests, so just to let you know. As I do that, I wanted to begin with what I'm told is a Jewish parable or story. I can't authenticate that, but it could be. At any rate, I wanted to share this with you. There is a Jewish parable that runs something like this. Once upon a time, there was a rabbi who was old, wise, and very holy. One day he gathered his disciples around him and asked them this question: when is there enough light in the world? The first disciple answered him in this fashion: Rabbi, there is enough light in the world when it is bright enough so that from a distance one can see whether a stream of water is moving or standing still. That's not enough light, the rabbi answered. Second disciple ventured another answer. Rabbi, there is enough light in the world when it is bright enough so that one can tell the difference between an oak tree and a sycamore tree. That's still not enough light, the rabbi said. A third disciple offered his opinion. Rabbi, there is enough light in the world when it is light enough so that one can tell a sheep from a goat. Again, the rabbi replied, that is still not enough light. Now all the disciples were quite dismayed. No answers were then offered after that. They looked at each other in wonder, and then at the rabbi in a questioning way, wondering what could the answer be. At last, the rabbi answered his own question. There is enough light in the world when it is so bright that anyone can look into the face of another and see in that face the face of a brother and sister. Isn't that what our religion is supposed to be? I say this in light of the gospel, which I'm not going to read here, but just to paraphrase briefly, the gospel of last Sunday in our liturgy, where Jesus is criticizing local religious leaders because of their hypocrisy, and criticizing religion, if you will, or the practice of religion, and in a lot of ways trying to share in his own way what authentic faith and religion actually looks like. So this, of course, is not to disparage our Jewish friends at all, who have very much a very authentic religious tradition that, in my view, as Christians, they are our elder brothers and sisters, and entitled to the greatest respect, like all religious faiths. But what it does say in a lot of ways is a problem that institutional religion can run into anywhere, and absolutely does. I say this in particular for my tradition and my church, the Catholic Church. Sometimes we're authentic and sometimes we are not. As a body, as a corporate body, you see, as an institution as well. And there's a lot of debate about that, but back in what was called the year of the Jubilee, the beginning of the 21st century, Pope John Paul II in our tradition had apologized to the world for a long series of sins, if you will, or asking for reparations for things that the Catholic Church did throughout history. One of them, 2 years before that, 1998, he spoke of the Church's silence during the Holocaust and apologized to the Jewish community. What that means to them, I'm not sure. But it does say that our religious institutions, as important as they are, because they bring us together in a very practical and concrete way, can also be problematic. And the hypocrisy that Jesus refers to in the scriptures about religious leaders and so on is something that has not changed a great deal since the time of Jesus. And I say this in light of the fact that there's this interesting church called Grace Church in Dover, Massachusetts. I don't know if anybody's aware of it. I became aware of it through some friends. One was a friend of mine who was part of my Catholic disaffiliation research, who is ex-Catholic, who left the Catholic Church. And another who I spoke to from that same parish, who is looking to come back to the Catholic Church in some fashion, whatever that means. And as I say that, the Grace Church, I am told, is predominantly ex-Catholics. Now, as far as I know, from my own research, there's probably around close to 40 million ex-Catholics in the United States. The largest Catholic population in the Archdiocese of Boston are non-practicing Catholics. And nationally in the Catholic Church, although that can look very different in different locales, especially in the South and Southwest, there are more people overall who leave the church than who enter the church. And when I talk about all of these things, and I talk about the difficulties people have within the institutional church, and the many who do not and who stay within that church for lots of different reasons, including myself, I recall the answer of Jesus here when we think that religion, that our faith, is all there is to it, and people just need to come and join us, and everything's great. But like our faith themselves, our religious institutions are evolving, and that's why it's really important, I think, not only to understand that we are holding a treasure of faith in earthen vessels, as Paul tells us, that's very fragile, very precarious at times, but that what helps us hold ourselves together is our accountability through the gospel to Christ and to each other. If there's anything about the institutional church, and there's many things in my view that are important, including our long tradition, which is a treasure in itself, that needs to be in dialogue with secular culture, and we're still figuring out how to do that, that we are living with a living tradition, all of us, that's constantly evolving and changing as we evolve and change. And that we do so not just within ourselves as silos of different denominations, but we do so together and connecting with one another. We learn so much. We learn how to voice our own tradition as well as to listen and learn from the tradition of others. So I would like to pray for this in a particular way, with all the great mistrust that is in cultural institutions across the board in this country, especially by our younger generations, that this is an opportunity for us in many ways to authenticate ourselves within our traditions and within our communities and institutions, and to always be humble enough to say that we have so much more to learn. Have a wonderful day.